morning, everyone. Today we'll be beginning with session 1 of the week 2. As far as week 1 was concerned, I am really hopeful that you gained a much more enhanced perspective about what retailing actually means, evolution of retailing, and why it holds a so much strategic importance as far as the economy dynamics are concerned. But in this module, as we begin, once we are done with this, the learner will definitely be able to appreciate how we can increase or offer an enhanced value to the customers as far as the perceived benefits and sacrifices are concerned. Along with that, we'll also be looking at some fascinating retailing theories which can indeed also be aligned with the evolution facets of retailing. And then we'll be finally looking at a retailer's role in supply chain. Now, as I have been telling a couple of times, we'll also be looking at the two exciting elements, which is extra fodder for thought, in which we'll be learning about firing customers. I'm very sure you must have heard about companies firing employees, but have you ever heard about companies firing customers? So this is something new that we'll be learning. Apart from that, as a part of learning something new, we'll be learning about the facets of A/B testing. Now, if you remember in the last lecture, we has precisely discussed what consumer value is, right? And we also look at it from the perspective of the benefits which a customer gets by using the product. Now that can be functional, that can be social, experiential, and in terms of sacrifices, we precisely look at cost, which need not be always monetary, can also be looked at from the terms of time and effort which a person spends in acquiring the product, or that can also be psychological with respect to the efforts that a customer makes, let's say, in collecting information about the product. Now, if we don't discuss about how we can actually enhance the value for the customers, this particular loop will not get closed, right? So we'll be looking at how you can actually create or enhance value for customers. Now, these are the 5 key points that we'll be discussing, starting from evaluating customer experience, then getting to focusing beyond pricing, then finally about collecting consumer data, then why we need to reward loyalty, and finally how what kind of right segments can be created for the customers. Now let's look at the first one, evaluate customer experience. Now see, whenever we are talking about customer experience, we definitely look at it from the perspective of how retailers can actually create new and memorable experiences for the customers. And if you remember, we also talked about the coffee wonderland in Shanghai, which gave us some perspective about how retailers are now getting to the next level with respect to, offering a much more heightened feel good positive experience to the customers. But in order to figure out how you can actually enhance the value for the customer in the journey, we first need to understand what customer journey maps are. Now, customer journey maps simply indicates the series of interactions that a customer has with the product or service offering of the brand. Now, this can happen while the customer is using the product and also in the process of buying. Now let's say these customer journey touch points can be looked at from the perspective of while you are searching for the product, while you are collecting information, let's say from the retailer's own website, or by visiting the retail store, or by even through the other Google links that you might come across. Apart from that, customer journey can also be looked at from the perspective of while you are deciding from which channel you should buy the product. A retailer might have the presence of both online and offline channels. Then even when you are making those decisions, and how the journey can be made more smoother with respect to buying online or offline is also going to be a part of customer journey. Let's say even when you decide to buy the product offline, and when you are making the payment for the product, the options that you get, which could be payment in cash, or let's say through credit cards or through other e-wallets. Just imagine if these other options apart from cash are not available, and you at that time might not have sufficient cash to pay, that is also going to impact your experience. So this in ways also becomes important. Along with this, how the cashier is even behaving with you is again going to be of too much importance. Along with this, in customer journey, you can also look at the paradigms concerning, let's say if your product becomes faulty, you need repairs. So where you need to call, how much is the turnaround time for the call, in the sense like if I call the helpline and if it is taking 10 minutes to me in reaching to the right executive, then definitely this is going to be a huge cause of dissatisfaction. Not only satisfaction, but the customer loyalty with respect to future buying prospects is also going to be impacted. But there is a one knack, or I would say the best way of looking at the consumer journey, that is you should visualize all the steps which a customer takes with respect to purchasing and using your offering, and then you can see how you can make it much more easier, or in other ways how you can remove pain points, or you can enhance the value as far as the whole process of need recognition and eventually buying, and as far as we look at it from a strategic way, enhancing loyalty with respect to repurchasing is concerned. Now let's look at this retail customer journey, which has been written by Alex Bishkoff, and this has been derived from the website Delighted. This is more of a blog with respect to guide customer mapping. Now, if you look at that, the whole phases of consumer buying decision making process have been indicated, which starts from need to purchase, then getting on to researching options, then finally going to the store if a consumer or a prospective consumer wishes to, then purchasing and using the product, and then looking for support if required, and finally repeat purchase. Now, if you look at this entire journey, there are two red flags which can be identified. One is it was difficult to compare options on my phone. The other one is the cashier wasn't very helpful. Now, we'll first talk about it was difficult to compare options on my phone. See, today it becomes very important that the retailer should make an effort to reduce the cognitive effort for the consumers or prospective consumers, which means there is definitely a too much of information available on various websites, or let's say even on the online retailers there are a lot of reviews which can sometimes also confuse the customer with respect to what they should buy and what they should not buy, or which brand they should consider or which brand they should not consider, right? So one thing is, it is the job of a retailer to help them, and definitely we should be getting to the facet of sense making, in which you work with the consumer in helping them out in making right product choices on the basis of information available. Other thing is, majority of people use mobiles because one point, it is definitely handy, so it becomes easier for a lot of people to search for information with respect to products and even buy products. So you also need to make sure that your websites, if of any retailer, are mobile responsive, which means that if you are trying to look for information on the mobile website should be responsive, which means that everything should not even load in the fastest possible times, but should also be comprehensible and completely visible. Otherwise, the experience of searching information is definitely going to be unpleasant. Now, if you get to the next facet, the cashier wasn't very helpful. See, we also need to dig deeper into it. One way of cashier not being very helpful could be there could be too much of crowd, or there could be too much of queues as far as the people who want to make payment are concerned, right? So in this case, we need to figure out different ways to solve this problem, right? Either we can offer people the options with respect to making payments online, and the load on cashier could be reduced. Apart from that, we also need to have some interviews with the cashiers to figure out where the problem actually lies. In case there is an issue with respect to the emotional labor or attitude of the cashier, the best way would be to train them so that they can treat or greet people in the best possible ways, because this again becomes a very important moment of truth as far as that is satisfaction facets with respect to retailing are concerned. Now, even in other cases where the customer is saying, this met my price expectations, I am so glad that you answered my phone call and questions, I need to purchase again, I need to recommend this. This doesn't mean that you will not be thinking about how you can enhance value on these parameters. If there is a possibility of taking things to the next level and creating a wow factor for the customers, then we should be working towards this only. So I really hope you got some perspective about how we need to create visual maps, and then we can figure out the various touch points or the experience points for the customers where the values can definitely be enhanced for them. So if you recollect, I was just telling you about how we can make it easier for the customers to search for information. Now, if you want to buy a mobile or any electronic gadget from Amazon, this is what they present on their website, which makes it very easy for you to compare the products, and you can figure out which product is going to be best suitable for you. So as far as this mobile comparison is concerned, they are providing you a comparison on important parameters that people precisely use while making purchases for a mobile phone with respect to camera description, screen size, screen type, battery power, and RAM. So this is in one ways that online retailers have mastered the art of helping consumers in making right product choices, and also working towards decreasing their cognitive load with respect to processing information. So if you buy something from Amazon next time, I would definitely urge you to look at this comparison map and then share your thoughts in the forum, and we'll be happy to discuss about them. Now, as we were discussing about how we can create value for customers, just imagine how we were buying cylinders earlier. So, in order to understand another perspective of how we can create or bring in more value for customers, you can precisely look at it from the perspective of how we were buying cylinders earlier. Now, see, earlier you would go to the physical touch point, you'll carry your booklet, and definitely there are going to be a lot of people, which again is going to be a source of inconvenience. Now, this is just a missed call away. Now, this again is a perspective how the retailers or the marketers or the companies are trying to enhance the value for the customers. Now, when you are able to book the cylinder through just one missed call, it is definitely going to bring in a lot more convenience for the customers and definitely reduce a lot of pain points, whether these can be looked at from the perspective of going to the physical touch point, being in the queue there, and a lot of time being wasted in this. Now, along with this, we can also look at another example, which is definitely about Blinkit. See, in all sectors or domains, you will see retailers are trying their best to offer much more value to the customers. There was a time when if you would place an order online, it would actually take 2-3 days for the products to be delivered to you, and sometimes more than that. Even for certain products, this definitely takes this much of time these days also. But it was only for the grocery sector that you might find that people will not be willing to wait that long, because groceries are used on regular basis, and hence waiting for longer for them may not be possible. Sometimes the people order groceries for the same day's usage itself. Now, if they are being delivered next day, that is not going to make much of a sense as far as the customers are concerned. So, Blinkit definitely came up with the 10-minute grocery delivery time, which has become now very popular with respect to customers, and now you can get groceries in just 10 minutes. Now, just imagine the convenience factor which it is bringing in, as far as the time savings which happen for the customers, along with the immediate delivery of goods which consumers definitely enjoy. Now, if customers are given the option to pick up from a grocery retailer who might take, let's say, 1 hour or 3 hours in delivery, vis-a-vis Blinkit who is only taking 10 minutes, Blinkit is definitely going to be the choice for a lot of customers. Now, this again is one of the perspectives where we see how we can actually enhance the value for the customers. Now, another example could be Paytm. If you try to recollect the good old days, you will see that Paytm was only used for maybe doing recharges or doing a few other activities. But now, if you go to Paytm or you log into the Paytm app, you can not only use for recharging your mobile but also pay electricity bills, recharging your direct to home connections. You can book gas cylinders, you can pay for your broadband and landline bill, pay education fees. Along with that, you can also pay rent. Now, just imagine how these companies are trying to enhance value for the customers by definitely making it a one stop point for a lot of online payment needs. Now, there is another thing which I wanted to definitely highlight as far as the perspective of enhancing value for customers is concerned. See, if you even go back in time just a few years, you'll be able to see that there were a lot of people who were going for getting their passbook updated to the bank, right? Now, this definitely has an opportunity cost, because the customers who are coming to the branch to get their passbook updated are definitely taking the time of the officers, which can eventually be spent on the customers, which could bring in more of monetary value or add to a lot of profits. I'm not denying the possibility of selling more of products to the people who have come for passbook updation, but more or less broadly, this activity was something which was not bringing a lot of profits. And otherwise, the people who wanted to get their passbook updated also had to wait for longer times in the branch. So definitely the State Bank of India decided to launch Swayam, which was a automated passbook printer. Now, this again can be looked at one of the facets as far as enhancing value for the customers is concerned. In one way, it is helping people who want to get their passbook updated to not to stand in queues and not to even wait as far as other customers in the branch are concerned. Along with that, it also gets very effortless and timeless for them, because this can be done at any time of the day, because these machines have precisely been installed along with the ATM. So definitely there are multi-level benefits. One is queueless, effortless, and timeless. So I really hope that all these examples, whether that was related to Paytm or with respect to Swayam, which is an automated passbook printer, or the example which we discussed with respect to Blinkit, have added value for you in understanding the facets of how we can enhance the value for customers by looking at the customer journey maps. Now, as we move forward, I also want you to understand one of the popular behavioral models in marketing theory, which is basically AIDA, and we also add S to it, which stands for satisfaction, which means it actually becomes attention, interest, desire, and action. Now, one way of looking at this model is with respect to products and services, which means retailer or the marketer will make efforts to attract the consumer or catch the attention of the consumers with respect to the product and services. Then they'll work towards kind of stimulating a more of interest as far as the product or service offering is concerned. Then they would try to encourage consumers to have a liking and trust for their product or service offering. These both will definitely require different kind of strategies, and eventually they would want the customers to buy, or the marketer would want the customers to take action and come forward and buy their product and even start talking positively about it. Now, this is one way of looking at this theory. The another way is that this can also be looked at from the perspective of a retail store, which means it also becomes the responsibility of the retailer or the retail store owner to make sure that they get the attention of the people in that particular vicinity. They are able to attract people to visit their stores. Now, this can be done in a number of ways. One is maybe you can have a get together on the launch day of the stores, which will definitely bring in a lot of crowd if you are offering something. Or let's say this can also be related to offering some free snacks or free gifts, or also some attractive discounts on the first day. This can also be a source of attention. Otherwise, you could come up with a very creative, very smart, and just very catchy billboard which can even attract the crowds in the city, or I would say any integrated marketing communication campaign. Now, once the retail store had caught the attention of the people, they need to develop the interest of the people in that particular retail store. Now, this is precisely done by sharing more information about the store. Now, this can be shared from the perspective of the new brands which the store caters to and is not available in other retail stores of the city. This can also be driven by announcing some very attractive or catchy sales promotion offers which could not be offered by other retailers. This can also be done by highlighting what are the other benefits that your retail store provides. Now, let's say this can be related to you have a specific dedicated sales staff which will be handling your queries with respect to the technical products and will be all there to provide you demo for each and every electronic gadget. Now, this can be used as a mechanism to stimulate the interest of the people in that particular retail store. Now, other way could be in order to stimulate or encourage the desire, you will be definitely working towards developing a liking and trust for the store. Now, for this also you need to have different strategies. Now, one way could be developing a relationship with them, sharing information with them. When they have gone out of your store, you still keep in touch with them, or you come up with warranties and guarantees which actually foster trust. Let's say, and physical store can also come with the policy of taking returns with no questions asked policy, which is very much popular in online domain. This can also be used as a mechanism for developing trust and liking for the store. Finally, as far as action is concerned, you would want customers to come to your stores and buy products not just once but more often, which actually captures the essence of loyalty as far as retailing is concerned. So as far as AIDA model is concerned, I hope that you really enjoyed learning about it with respect to the perspective of a retail store, whereas majority of times this is only discussed with respect to a product or service offering. Now, as we move forward, we'll be looking at another important point which can be used for enhancing the value for the customers, and that is you need to focus beyond pricing. Just imagine if you have a lot of grocery stores in a city, or let's say departmental stores. If everybody is competing on pricing, then how you'll be able to develop loyalty for your store, because everyone is lying at par. So you need to figure out different strategies to attract people to your store, which means the focus must be on identifying cases or alternative ways to add more value for the customers. Like if we take this example forward, let's say if there are a lot of grocery stores in a vicinity, then which one would customer prefer? This is definitely going to be dependent upon what extra you are offering. One simple way could be that there is one store which started taking orders through WhatsApp, which is definitely becoming popular these days. Now, this can also enhance some value, but the problem is this is definitely going to be copied by other retailers in just no time, because this is that much easier. So the whole idea is to figure out something which cannot be easily copied by other retailers. Now, one way of looking at it could be having a retail staff which is working towards developing very strong relationship with the customers. And once that has been established, the relationship which the retail staff and the customer shares will not be easily copied. But I want you leave here with the thought of identifying much more alternative ways to figure out how a grocery store can actually differentiate itself with other stores in the city. Now, another way is definitely about collecting consumer data, because once you have data, you'll be able to figure out a lot more insights by digging deep into the available data or by using some kinds of structural equation modeling to figure out rich insights from that particular data. And consumer insights can definitely be magical in these competitive times, and you can either use qualitative and quantitative approaches both. Quantitative approaches are basically dependent on conducting surveys, collecting data, and then using structural equation modeling and other statistical tools to figure out insights from the data available. Or you can even use secondary data and apply some tools to dig richer insights as far as consumer shopping behavior is concerned. Like one example of this could be predictive analytics, which means you can collect data or you can kind of retrieve data about how the shopping basket of consumers has been looking like in the past 6 months, and you can then use this data to figure out what is to be kept in shelves. Precisely, you are using secondary data. Another approach could be qualitative, which means you could be taking their interviews, or you can adopt a narrative based examination and then analyze that qualitative data by using various tools like NVivo and Atlas, and then you can dig deeper much further to draw rich insights as far as qualitative and quantitative approaches are concerned. And definitely the insights that you dig can also provide a lot of fodder for the recommendation systems, which means what should be recommended to the customers when they visit our stores or with respect to the online channels. Now, another tip which becomes very important with respect to enhancing value is definitely rewarding loyalty. See, if a customer is loyal to your store, that doesn't mean that you should not be making any efforts to reward loyalty for them, because this can indeed be used as a shield to make sure that they don't move to the competitors, as well as you are giving them more reasons to buy concerning your relationship with them. Not just more reasons to buy, but buy more of quantity also. Now, the last facet which we need to discuss here is definitely about right segmentation. So, one thing is we definitely need to go beyond the demographics and behavioral segmentations or the psychographic segmentation, which we have been using quite often in marketing research and retailing literature as well. Now, demographics basically encompasses the segments which are created on the basis of the gender, or let's say income level, education profile, occupation levels. Or if you look at psychographic segmentation, we precisely talk about or create segments on the basis of activities, interest and opinions of the prospective individuals. So now whenever you are talking about behavioral segmentation, you need to look at it from the perspective of user status, whether the prospective customer is a regular user or is a first time buyer or is a potential user or even a non user for your product. Then also you need to figure out what is it that the competitors are offering better, that a few customers or prospective customers are gravitating towards the competitors. Apart from that, in behavioral segmentation we also consider a buyer's readiness, which means whether they are aware of your brand or they are not aware of your brand. We also see the consumer buying behavior with respect to different occasions as far as behavioral segmentation is concerned. But in today's scenario, we also need to look at the customer lifetime value as a basis of segmentation or the profitability. Right now, in order to dig deeper into it, first thing which I want you to understand what CLV or customer lifetime value actually means. It indicates revenue a business can expect from a customer throughout a business relationship. Now the whole idea is, let's say if you are just looking at the customer from the perspective of being profitable or not being profitable as of now, and it indicates that a particular customer X is not very profitable as far as the present time is concerned, you might decide to drop it. Now just imagine a situation whereas if you would have considered or played around the statistics as far as his long term association with you is concerned, he or she could have been too much profitable, even more profitable than the others. So the whole idea is to make sure that you don't end up making these mistakes or dropping out customers who are not profitable as of now but can be profitable in long run. So right, so CLV is definitely going to give you that perspective. And again, I'll touch upon the predictive segmentation aspect, which means that you need to utilize the data as far as the consumer buying behavior in the past is concerned, and you can utilize that data to figure out what is it which can be offered to the customers, or how the future offerings for a particular segment of customers are definitely going to look like. So as far as this particular section was concerned, I'm really hopeful that you enjoyed learning about and you gained some perspective about how we can actually enhance the value for customers. And now we'll be able to understand what is the importance of customer journey maps and what is the value that they bring on the table when we need to understand various touch points or moments of truth, and where we can actually remove pain points or increase the value for the customer. Now, as we move further, there is one more exciting thing which I wanted to share with you, and that is the small video. Paron Kaufman, he is very popular as far as his talks on enhancing customer value or creating customer delight is concerned. So we'll be now looking at this video, and I'm very sure that you are going to enjoy this. So please have a look at this video.
So what do we got here? 4 different categories of value. One category is called the primary product. That's the pizza. Hello, IT. That's the quality of your code. Another category is called the delivery system. Yo, IT. This is how easy and fast and user-friendly is it to work with you guys. Are you speedy? Are you dependable? Are you reliable? Do you report on time? Does your system work so I can talk to you? The third category is the attitude, the caring, the helpfulness. And the fourth category is called ongoing relationship. Do people feel like you're just trying to do a project, or do they feel like IT is actually here committed to helping us succeed and grow and win and develop into the future? Which of these 4 categories do IT professionals tend to get trained in during their academic education? Write the code. Maybe they get some coaching on how to communicate with other people, like, systems and dialogue and speed and time and SLAs and KPIs. But those bottom 2 categories is where you can actually differentiate and stand out, because so much in the top 2 categories is becoming commoditized. It all goes to the cloud. It all can be outsourced. It all can be, why you? Unless they say about you, but our relationship with them, they understand us. They're helping us succeed and grow. Now, which of these 4 categories do customers and colleagues appreciate and value? All of them. Put them together and you get what's called the big picture. It is the experience that people value. And the experience is made up of all 4 categories.
And as we meet again in the session 2, we'll be again touching upon a lot more exciting things, and we'll be first looking at the theoretical perspectives or theories which can be aligned with the evolution of retailing. Along with that, we'll also be talking about our interesting elements, which is extra fodder for thought and definitely learning something new. So looking forward to meeting you in the next session. Good luck. For now, wishing you a great day ahead. Thank you.